Flying it all alone, thinking that I'm way too, thinking I were too, but you're gone. Flying it all alone, thinking that I'm way too, thinking I were too, but you're gone.
見せて俺たちを安心させてくれんかい。
Hey y'all. Hey, what's up guys? It's another episode of the NukeStream. Sorry for being late. Had real world stuff to take care of and was running behind. But we're here now and that's what's important. So today we're going to talk about something very tough. Very tough. Something that men really need to understand. Everyone needs to understand, but mostly men because we're the ones interfacing and marrying women and dating them and all that stuff. So understand that this is it. Hypergamy, right? Hypergamy is the big word that it's the word that's in everyone's mouth. Like I go out to wherever I go and I hear friends, coworker, they say this word, right? I hear it in my real life. People say this word. And a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions, right? Whether it be they're emotional about it, whether they don't want to accept it, whether they accept it fully, but just, it makes them bitter. Everyone has a different relationship with this word and this concept. And, and because it's something that's becoming a container word um, for, bad women or something like women are hypergamous, meaning oh they're bad. I'm like not necessarily, right? And at the end of the show, I want you guys to kind of understand that hypergamy serves you. It's works for you more than it works for women, right? I know that's hard to accept, right, with the way you see things and all that, but yeah, because of my long work schedule today, I'm not gonna have as good notes as I did for my previous episode. So please excuse me. I'm kind of like just flying off the dome here, right? But I'll do my best. Anyways, you guys know where to find me. I'll put the link tree in the chat, but Twitter and YouTube, Galileo Nuclear, like and subscribe. Put notifications on if you guys would like to catch my shows and not miss them. And everything else on Patreon, Twitch, and Instagram, it's nuclearcaudillo. And yeah, you guys can find me there. If you follow me on Instagram, whenever I open it again, I'll follow you guys back and all that stuff. So it's nice to see familiar faces in the chat. And I'll try to be succinct. And please come with questions or refutations or whatever, right? I'm here to trade notes, just like you guys are, but just know that you guys got to get over this stuff, right? If hypergamy still hurts you, right? If hypergamy doesn't care, still hurts you. if she's not yours, just your turn, still causes an emotional reaction in you, right? You guys have work to do, right? A lot of guys that have been replying to me in the tweets have been asking to not use that language, right? And that's a very female way of thinking. Like, men, we need to be told the truth. It's like, aren't you guys tired of being lied to, or for the gynocentric social order to use mince words with you? You know, you want to get told the truth, right? So why do we have to, why is language? Why do you have to regulate language for explaining concepts and terms? It doesn't make sense, right? Um, for hypergamy sounds like a very scientific term. It's very what do you call it, it's very pragmatic, kind of scientific, right? And there's a lot of people that don't like it, right? There's debates. I've seen debates with OnlyFans girls with Google that think that hypergamy isn't real, because not because they've observed it not to be real, but because it makes them feel icky, right? Because in order to understand women, guys, you have to be able to discuss the unflattering truths about them, right? They are hell bent. When I say they, I mean the gynosexual social order, whether it be psychologists, whether it be your friends and family, whether it be your employers, whoever. They're hell bent on trying to tell you that they're the ones that things happen to, and we're the ones that do things, right? In a sense, that's correct. But we're trying to play, or trying to portray women as helpless, like nothing they do, like everything they do is because a man forced them to, or because of circumstances and all that stuff. But we know that's false, right? That's step one, is to realize, like, hey, women do things for a reason. That's not because they're just these helpless little angels. All right. And one of the things they do is trade up men for other men. And that's just a part of life, right? That's why the phrase "she's not yours, just your turn" and "hypergamy doesn't care" go hand in hand, right? You can't have one phrase without the other. It's crazy, because you'll have guys that totally accept hypergamy. They'll be like, "Yeah, hypergamy is a thing and it exists," and then they, at the same time, they'll be like, You'll say, "Hey, she's not yours, it's just your turn," but um, they hate that phrase. They say, "Oh, it's for cowards." I'm like, well, then that would imply that you think you're the best person that she's in the world, right? Like, what the hell? Like, you really think you're the best man alive? Like, every woman that dates you and touches your dick is suddenly yours forever because you're the best? Like, which one is it? Right? And then we have guys that are like, "Yeah, she's not yours, just your turn," but hypergamy doesn't exist, thinking that it's like free love, like, it was just a vibe and we were just feeling each other. Those are the guys that are like mate switching. Those are the mate switching people, right? The intellectuals, the people that think that they can intellectualize sexuality. They're like, "Hey, your IQ is similar to mine, we can have sex now." Like, no, that's not how any of this works, right? As a guy, if you decide to choose to be a womanizer, right? As a guy, you're going to meet women that are smarter than you, like you're going to be, maybe you have a regular job, but you're going to meet women that are surgeons. You're going to meet women that are doctors. You're going to meet women that um, are physicists, college professors, and they'll love you. They'll be like, "Man, this guy's hot," right? If you put in the work to be attractive. Um, and then you'll be wondering, like, these mate switching losers, these dorks that talk about like, mate switching, right? Um, why are they so hell bent on proving this theory that hypergamy doesn't exist, or that hypergamy is going away? Why now? And they have different arguments for that, right? Um, and one of the biggest arguments for them is that it's all about socioeconomic status, right? Like rich rich men don't go for poor girls. You never see it. And rich girls don't go for poor men, and you never see it. And I'm here to tell you that's very the reason they get this wrong all the time, um, is that what happens is that they forget that there's this thing called societal shame, right? And also they forget that women's innate ability to hide other men from other men. And also and also men that have status, a lot of times they have to hide women, right? Whether it be through signing NDAs, whether it be just, like, I am nobody, guys. I am nobody. And I am on a Facebook page. I'm on several Facebook pages where women are calling me out for my past dating life, right? So I can understand how a guy who's actually has status, like real status, whether it be a politician, whether it be a high position at a company, whether it be a doctor with his own practice, or a school principal, any position where your reputation's on the line. I could see that going for young girls, how dangerous it could be. So you have to stick with women in your own kind of cohort or your own socioeconomic level, because if you ever dip below the kind of social order will come for you. Your job. They would at a minimum criticize you, and you'd be looked at differently, right? So that's why the mate switching hypothesis seems so real to people, because they don't understand that there's shame, right? For guys with no shame that are red pilled and woken up to this BS, right? We just do it anyway. Like good example is difference between like a celebrity like Will Smith, whose relationship is his brand, part of his brand, versus Leo, which Leo's like, I don't care. I didn't win an Oscar. Great. I'm going to go party on a yacht with 24-year-olds, and I'm going to date multiple models. And then when they're too old, I just drop them off. Right. Not that maybe he doesn't do it on purpose. Maybe he does. Who knows? But that's the difference. The difference is shame. How much shame does the guy have? Right. And shame is effective for men, especially men that aren't their own point of origin. Right. So when a guy like Will Smith, who feels like his relationship is who he is, and it's part of who he is, right? Because Hollywood's been foaming at the mouth to like show how successful a Hollywood marriage could be, like Will and Jada, because that's for years me growing up, they were like the successful marriage in Hollywood when no one else could be. Um, you know, to see it crumble is very, it's kind of started to wake up guys in a sense that they're realizing that, hey, why do these women that have plenty of money and plenty of status or just higher socioeconomic level still go for like guys that are like way down here, right? They're handsome guys, like, but I thought it was all about money. I thought it was all about status. I thought it was like to a point, right? And that just shows you guys that they don't understand hypergamy, and that it has two sides, and that there's certain things that hypergamy doesn't care about. And it's really easy to tell. Just think of it biologically. Like if you're in a tribe of 100, well, let's say 100 people, right? Was it Dunbar's number is 100, 150, and um, let's say about 80% were women and 20% were men. Let's say 100, right? So you had, let's say 30 men, 70 women, right? So alpha guy gets 3, second gets 2, and then the rest of the guys get 1, and everyone's happy, right? Everyone's happy and all that stuff, right? But imagine you're in that, and someone says, "Hey, because when you go do this thing in the tribe, you meet this girl, you guys should have sex, right?" And you're like, "Oh, that feels really nice," right? Like two people in the tribe doing the same thing in the same corner of the tribe doing the same thing. Okay, I can see, that's to the person who doesn't understand what hypergamy is for. But think about it, right? What if that dude is just a weak, fat, you know, a diseased guy, and just because she goes to the same spot this other tribe woman goes to, they're gonna mate. Like hypergamy exists for a reason. She's probably gonna be like, oh, this diseased guy, I can't mate with him because he can't protect me, and my offspring will be weak. So she has to go for the alpha. I'm like, oh, the alpha already has 2 women, already has had healthy children, and he's still alive. He hasn't been killed. So something is about this guy is like, hey, I should probably mate with this guy, right? But they don't go that far. I don't know why. It just like science, you don't need numbers for everything. You can use rationale. You can look at something and be like, hey, hypergamy makes total sense in a survival scenario. It makes total sense. Not only does it make total sense, it's like very obvious, right? Like the problem is that we've allowed female solipsism and emotionalism into science and into social sciences, especially like psychology. So whenever there is a fact, study, or observation that paints women in a negative light, there can only be 2 things. They have to either make it a gender neutral problem, so they're not pointing it at women, or they have to ignore it altogether. Those are basically the 2 options, more or less, of when, hey, we find a fact about women. And sometimes there's just, and then when there's something um that comes out about how much men are suffering due to social issues, like there's the GSS survey where 1/3 of men aren't getting laid or whatever, between 18 and 30. Where they all act shocked. They're like, "Whoa, what is going on?" It's feminism teaching, like teaching women and this and the testosterone. I'm like, no, no, no. You see that as soon as we start like kind of like looking at the savagery of the dating market, and then we start having to say things like, hey, there's no morality in this, right? That's why RP guys are under attack, because we're finally at a time where we have to make a decision as a society. And it's just like, hey, we cannot continue the path we're on with this many amount of men not participating and not getting anything out of life besides their sedations, right? We cannot continue until we figure out why this is. And everyone has a little, there's a new dating podcast or new dating show, whether it be a woman that has 20 surgeries on her face saying, um, red pill is evil, blah blah blah, to a regular guy like me saying, hey, she's not yours, it's just your turn. Hey, logistics guys and dating, like there's all we're popping up all over the place, and there's a reason, right? The medium is the message, and the message is, dudes, we're not getting laid, we're not having families, we're not having babies. Now there are socioeconomic reasons for this. There are humans tend to have less children when things are really safe, and we're living in the safest time in history, right? Um, so what happens now is that society's like, okay, what do we do with this? And it's just like they have to acknowledge that women are hypergamous, right? Because there is no absolute way that if this egalitarian model of men um and women dating one for one, right? um happens, it is true that in their mind, then that would mean that no one is going without sex. Or if 15% of women aren't having sex, or 14, then 14% of men aren't having sex. But that is not true, right? And I'm going to say what I always, like I said in the last like 4 shows or last 3 shows. Remember, guys, remember, and take solace in this, right? Revenge fantasies aren't good, but take solace in this, that if when a girl gets online and starts complaining that men aren't stepping up, that there's too many incels, or whatever she's complaining about, male performance and competence, just realize what she's really complaining about is, I'm tired of sharing alphas. That's what they're saying. Because if more men than women, much more men than women, aren't getting laid, then that means there are men with 2 girls, 3 girls, 4 girls, right? It's just simple mathematics. It like there aren't enough men for these women, so they share them. And look at all these like these women on here that try to project their how much they win at life because they have men eating out of their pocket. They're all seeing a man, at least one, and either most likely she's either dating a blue pill dork, right, who lets her do whatever she wants and talk however she wants online and be disrespectful, right, or she's sharing a guy, one or the other. Those, because it's like what Patrice O'Neal used to say. You guys remember Patrice O'Neal? um um Patrice O'Neal said he got on a call with a woman and the woman started insulting him, right? And she asked the woman, hey, what does your husband do? And she said, he's a trucker. And Patrice O'Neal said, hey, um, no wonder he's a trucker, so he can get away from you. Because if you talk to me like that, a man that you've never met in your life, imagine how you talk to your husband, who you know completely, right? So when you see women online, I know Mish posts about this all the time. On he uses the meme, right? Um, if a woman is online being quarrelsome or just being a bitch, whatever, and she, picks fights with people, or she goes after people for no reason, she's probably not that happy with the guy she's with, right? Um, Probably not that happy. And also, let's say she is, but she's single, she's sharing a guy, most likely, right? Because girls now have access to, the sexual marketplace is globalized. Girls can get flown out everywhere. Not that they do, right? I still don't see a lot of men flying out with girls. I haven't observed it, so I don't know. It's anecdotal for me, um, but for the most part, these women are not one to one, right? Because why? Because hypergamy. Hypergamy is women would rather share an alpha than be saddled with a loyal, dutiful beta. Here are a list of things that women would rather do except get married to a boring, dutiful, loyal beta. They would rather rack up hundreds of thousands or thousands of dollars in school debt and have to pay it for the rest of their for the next 20 years, right? They would rather travel the world and have sex with alphas all over the world, right? They would rather what else? They would rather get careers. They'd rather there's so many things that women would rather. They'd rather start internet accounts where they bash men. They'd rather there's so many things women would rather do except settle down with a beta. And now um we're seeing that men are getting blamed for this stuff, right? Like I get blamed all the time because I simply and from the perspective of a lot of people, it's like I'm damaging women. Like I go out, I go on a date with a woman, I sleep with her or whatever, and then the next thing it's just like, um, oh, Nuke, you're the problem, right? As if women didn't get to decide, like as if women like I have some kind of magical ability to to put thoughts in a woman's head to come on a date with me. No, right? Um, that's what losers say. Losers are the ones that are mad that other men are actually rising up to the challenge of being attractive enough to get women, right? That's losers. But anyway, let me check in on the chat. We got Godspeed. What's up, my friend? Soji Q. Cool story. What's your plan? Oh, don't say that. Ryan puts a lot of work in those. It took me 30 seconds to make that. It's a crappy little commercial. We got Matthew W. What's up, Matthew Dubs? We got Matt. We got the legendary Marty in sales. We got my boy Fred. Sup, Nuke? Hope you're having a good night. It's 2024. Guys, got to get with the program. No one's coming to save you. Just find the tools and make it work for you. Yeah, pretty simple. It's easier said than done, though, my friend. We got Unrealized Thoughts. Hello. You got Tadio. What's up? Tadeo. One thing that intrigues me is why must hypergamy and main switching be mutually exclusive? We can talk about that. Both hypotheses can be true at the same time and even work together as an integrated female sexual strategy. It's still hypergamy because what you're referring to is hypergamy. You think hypergamy is a straitjacket, and it's not. Right? We're gonna get into that. All right, guys. If you want to send a super chat and stand out, I'm getting a lot of licking the ice cream. Right. All right. So first off, let's talk about the misconceptions of hypergamy, right? So hypergamy has several misconceptions, and one of them is that we've heard. I don't know if you've heard this phrase. Hypergamy is a straitjacket, right? And it's people tend to think of hypergamy in extremes, right? Like if you get a girl and you're walking and Donald Trump is across the street and she sees Donald Trump or whoever's the top of the hierarchy right now, she's going to run to him and leave you forever, right? Like that's what you guys think. Not you guys, but a lot of people think hypergamy is, right? That's not true, right? Like you don't have to be what do you call it? You can be not the best guy she's ever seen, and you can totally have her around your finger, right? Hypergamy, when people want to use mate switching as a foil to hypergamy, or like, hey, it's actually mate switching, it's not hypergamy at all. What happens is what you're saying is that hypergamy is a straitjacket and mate switching is more realistic. It's more played out in front of us, right? But remember this, right? Just like men have shame and men have they think and are rational, women's innate biological drive to consolidate on the best man is also a lot of the times practical, right? Remember, women are opportunistic lovers. They have to love and go after a man that makes sense to them, right? And it doesn't always make sense to us, right? And I need you guys to think like, does it make sense in the overall uh in the overall scheme of things, sorry, right? If if a girl goes out, let's say I met a last year. I met a beautiful Japanese Puerto Rican girl at salsa night. Gorgeous. She comes out with her friend, her little hoe friend, right? And then I'm like, wow, like this is like what I've always wanted in a woman. Like she's gorgeous, right? And I dance with her, and I'm talking to her while we dance. She's having a good time, and I'm teaching her, and sneaky old Nuke just running his game. I teach her how to swing her hips and all that stuff, and she's loving it. Um, And then I start asking about herself, and then I find out, hey, she's married. Last week she got married, right? And also find out she's a professor. Like this girl's like a freaking gorgeous girl. Like she's so feminine and gorgeous, but she's like a professor. So I'm like, wow, this girl's like, you know, um, and her husband, not ugly, and because I saw her Instagram. So nothing happened, and but she went out to go dance with me, with a guy like me, right? Um, what do you think happened there? What was the overall concept? She has to realize, like, hey, this guy's attractive. Assuming that I'm attractive, I may not be to you guys, but assuming that I'm attractive, hey, this guy's attractive. I can't deny it. I'm getting my validation from him, but I love my husband and I have genuine desire for my husband. You see how hypergamy is not a straitjacket? People take hypergamy as something like so fierce in women that if they see a guy that's just 2 inches taller than you and makes 5K more than you, it's over. She's gone. She's gonna jump from you. There's nothing pragmatic about a woman jumping completely to another man, even within a relationship, right? Um, all the time. There are, it's usually when a woman is in a relationship, she's unhappy because the guy no longer is who she thought or never was, or she had a kid and she got her she because they say uh when a woman has a kid, it's like post nut clarity for men. A woman having a kid is post nut clarity for women, right? So that's one of the misconceptions of hypergamy is that it's so absolutely fierce and it's so huge in women that they need to get another guy instantly, like every 2 months, because then they would be jumping around men constantly and they would never be able to settle. They wouldn't even ever get pregnant, right? Think about it. Like they would never get pregnant. It takes about a month of you having sex with a girl every day to get her pregnant because you don't know her, her cycle. If so um yeah, I know. Like, are there skanks? Yeah, there's very promiscuous women that are just like they date, but women can't do that for long periods of time, right? There's consequences catch up. I think the longest a woman can do that and not be incredibly careful for a very long time is like a year. Like after that, it's just like they get too depressed, or they find a guy, or they get pregnant, become a single mom, or they get a bad STD or something. Something happens. They catch feelings, and they get their heart broken to the point where they can't even deal with men anymore, right? So yeah, I want you guys to learn that, or to know that hypergamy isn't a straitjacket, and the reason mate switching is seen as a foil to hypergamy is because people forget that there's two sides of hypergamy, right? So um and also it's not a straitjacket, right? So let me read this part. Hypergamy is a straitjacket. This is easily the most common perception. This is from Rollo's essay on hypergamy, the misconceptions, right? Hypergamy is an evolved social dynamic. That is to say, it is the behavioral extension of the biological factors, most notably ovulatory shift. I'll delve into this in the convention that shall not be named, and I'll cover it. And I covered in this in your friend menstruation. But hypergamy is a sexual strategy exclusive to women. It is the behavioral manifestation complementary to women's hormonal biological realities. Hypergamy at its root level is about the most efficacious, pragmatic means of women becoming fertile with the best genetic breeding opportunities and simultaneously pairing the long-term provisioning opportunities available to a woman. To a strictly deductive, analytical mindset, hypergamy seems a lot like a straitjacket. If you measure up, you're golden. If you don't, you're effed. This reflects a binary either or extreme. As such, it paints hypergamy as something insurmountable and very deterministic. I will admit, I've read some red pill guys either triumphantly or defeatedly cop to this idea about hypergamy. Where they both fail to consider is women's individual capacity to optimize hypergamy in a relative contrast to their own SMV. There you go, guys. I've seen low SMV pick up artists pull off what to this mindset should be impossible. There is so much more to hypergamy than just a man. What a man looks presents. There are factors and circumstances that can circumvent hypergamy, and there's nothing deterministic about it. Yes, hypergamy often ruthless, but resigning oneself to binary extremes about it gets men nowhere. Right. So when that hot Japanese Puerto Rican girl, literally my dream girl almost, comes to me, right? She isn't looking for the man's replacement. Maybe she was looking for validation. Maybe she was just trying to get some fresh air, or maybe she was trying to find a man cheap, but she had just gotten married the week before. There are other things that guy who she married gave her that I was not giving her in the moment, or she thought I could never give her, right? And one of those things could have been like security, man. I'm just some scruffy guy. Obviously, I could probably provide for her now, but there's some scruffy guy that she met at a Tulsa night. He's fun, exciting, but I'm safe. I'm happy. I got my husband cares about me. There are certain ways to circumvent hypergamy, and that's why like the black pill doomers and all that stuff, they get mad because first of all, they think it's all about looks. Like, if you're dating a girl and a guy has a better chin than you, or blue eyes or whatever, it's done. Your girl's gonna leave you, right? Because she's trying to constantly look for the best option. But the reality is that women, there are ways around it, right? Like talk to short guys. Short guys get laid all the time. Why? Because they said, okay, no, I won't be able to fulfill a lot of women's need for height, right? But what I can do is I can be charming. I can be more fit than a tall, lanky guy. I can make more money. Like, see, there's different ways, and that's the beauty about being a man, right? This is what the black pill doomers don't understand: is that yes, hypergamy exists. Yes, it's pervasive, but if you aren't tall, you can still be charming. If a woman is ugly, she has to travel thousands of miles to get a risky surgery to maybe raise her SMV by 1 point, but plastic surgery, right? Or turn herself into a freak show in order to get attention from men, right? And who knows the long-term effects of that, right? But for a guy, you just gotta lift and talk to women repeatedly for like a month until you kind of like understand them. Hypergamy serves us. Like, you have to understand hypergamy. You want it because it gives you a pathway forward. It's basically says, hey, if you want to get laid, you got to do better, right? Now, do I acknowledge women's delusion, how delusional women are? Of course, we're gonna get into that, right? Do I acknowledge that she's not yours, just your term? Meaning, just because you are all these things doesn't mean she's yours forever. She could leave at any moment, right? Do I acknowledge that? Yes. But imagine the powerhouse of a man you will be within your personal relationships with women, whether it be one night stand, a plate, a girlfriend, or your wife. Imagine a powerhouse of a man. If you took hypergamy, doesn't care, and she's not yours, it's just your turn, together, and you carved out a path for your sexual destiny, you didn't have to worry about what all these guys worry about with women. Like, that's a beautiful thing for a man. It's a beautiful day in a man's life when he wakes up and realizes, hey, women are part of my life. They're not the sole focus of it. If a girl leaves, yeah, I'll be sad, but it's just a part of life. It's a part of life. It isn't like someone tricked you. It isn't like it's the end of the world. It isn't like um it's simply something ended. It maybe didn't end the way you wanted. It may be painful, but you will survive and you will find someone else that's just as good or better, right? Because you hopefully will get better or have been getting better. And it's not personal. It's not personal. That's the most important thing. It's not personal. Unless you are a really piece of shit, like don't do anything in life. But if you're doing the bare minimum, lifting weights, continuous working hard at your company or your job, and you're getting promoted and stuff like that, and you're doing the work in your life, and you have a grand vision for your life, right? Then you must not you must look at it from the perspective of, hey, no matter what I did, this girl wasn't going to be happy. And that's okay. I don't want to live with someone that doesn't want to live with me. So, but yeah. Um, let me see if there's anything interesting in the chat. When women nowadays say that they'd rather be alone, I'm starting to believe them because that's just preferable for them being stuck with losers. Exactly. Women are choosing to be alone. Whether that is alone and getting dick on the side, yes, that could be it. But yeah. And just don't take it personal, guys. Like it's scary, right? We are all they have. If they marry the wrong guy and the guy turns out to be a loser or abandons them, they're screwed. They are terrified of single motherhood, right? Very few women live with no fear of what would happen if they got with the wrong guy. You know, it's simply an existential fear for women, right? They do all these things just to escape the reality that one day they'll have to settle down. But what happens is when they hit 30, they start to notice, hey, like I don't get the same amount of attention, privileges, kind of lifestyle, and I did when I was 20 or 25 or 23. So I should start consolidating on a guy. Here's a problem. Here's the big conundrum for women, right? If as a woman you get to 30 and you haven't found a guy yet that would commit to you, right? Here's a problem. Women get stuck on their highest setting with men, meaning that as time goes on, women meet hot guys, attractive men, men with money, men with game, men with charm, tall men, men that are very good in bed, whatever her version or her flavor, or a mixture of those, right? Um, and it gets harder and harder every year to keep those men around, right? She may like kick those men out of her life because like I'm done with the alphas and all that stuff, right? So she turns her nose or turns her eyes to guys that are like, that text good morning, that text, hey, did you get home safe? That only date one girl at a time because he's not like those other player guys that spin plates or whatever, right? Um, so what what happens is they end up in this place where like they're stuck, right? I can't get the hot guys, but I want the hot guys, so I got to settle for a blue pill guy. And a lot of women convince themselves of that. You see it all over the timeline, especially with trad women, right? Because they swear that their husbands are these super alpha Christian men, but they're actually all dorks. It's easy to tell. Um, and they go to this point in life where they have the baby. They realize after the baby's born, like, hey, this kind of sucks. Like this guy sucks. I wanted a baby so bad that I forgot that I wanted the baby with an alpha. But and then 5 years later, the kids go to school, no longer need that much attention because they're in school all the time. So the divorce happens, right? And that's the life cycle for most women nowadays, right? It's literally what happens, right? I don't know how we got here, but yeah, that's where we're at. So, and that's me describing the next misconception of hypergamy, right? Where women marry upward, right? And one of the things you got to understand that hypergamy has two sides, right? There's the alpha fucks, beta bucks, and ideally, women want both in one guy, right? You lead with alpha. They want an alpha with the side of beta. Problem is, a lot of guys are betas with sides of alphas or complete betas. So women can't consolidate on one guy because they can't find a guy who has both. Right? It's really hard. Um, it's tough. So what can you do as a woman when you can't find both? Right? Think of the caveman days. Hey, um, I'm a woman. I need protection, but I also need food, right? The alpha guy, that one of the best hunters, are not gonna give away food that easily because they're very valued in the tribe, you know. Um, but these beta guys, all their portions and stuff, they're giving it to me because I'm so great. So why is it that men with resources are trying to lead with resources and men that are alpha don't care about me at all? It must be that alpha guys have so much women, or um, you know, that they don't need me in their rotation, meaning that they're high value, meaning that, man in demand. They're a man in demand. So that's where women are. They get stuck. So what they do is they kind of divide it up, and they'll settle for a blue pill beta guy. Um, and then they'll always have their eyes to the alphas, right? Whether it be arguing with you on Twitter, whether it be going out to salsa night and dancing with a guy who's hot, not cheating on your husband per se, right? But going out and dancing with men, getting that feeling and that validation that, hey, I'm still hot, I still got it, and all that. But um, that's just what hypergamy is, guys. It's two sides. There's two sides to it, and a lot of guys don't understand that because they think that, hey, if I make a lot of money, then I'm alpha, and I'm like, not really. Alpha is always the beta side of hypergamy. I get tired of saying this. Like, how many rich guys do you know that are getting circles ran around them by young 22-year-old girls, right? I've been on dates where girls are like, yeah, I have a sugar daddy, um, and he does this for me, and they're on a date with little old me. I can't provide them this stuff. Um, I can't provide them this stuff um, that a millionaire can or a guy well off can, right? And hypergamy again is not a straitjacket. You'll see this in your own life. Like I was dating I was dating a girl for a while, for a long time, casually, and she told me a story of how a football player slid in her DMs, right? Um, and the issue is the issue is that for a guy that's uninitiated, he'll look at that and he'll be like, "Holy shit, my girl, she's gonna get taken away because some football player slid in this girl's DMs. I'm never gonna see this girl again." Right? But the fact that she's telling you is already a good sign. It's called a shit test, meaning she's saying, "Hey, are you good? Are you better than this guy, this random dude?" Right? So, guys, now that we're starting to tie this in with game, right? What would you say if you were dating a girl who showed you a guy that was perceived higher status for her, and she said, "Oh, this guy messaged me, or this guy slid in my DMs"? What would you guys say? This is a very common shit test women do. Very, very common. One of the most common, right? Especially now because women are getting DM'd by everyone. And I simply said, like I just simply listened to her story, I smiled, and I just said, "Man, you didn't even try to get a free ticket for a game or something?" You know, I demonstrated higher value than her in that moment, using game by saying, "Hey, like I don't care if you go out with another guy. I don't care. I'm unbothered. Like I can replace you. If you wanna branch swing to him, go for it. Just know you're replaced. And if you leave, I'm not going to be too affected by it. Right. That's how you demonstrate higher value. And that's like women using their innate hypergamy to fuck with you. Right. Um, so yeah, just tying it in with game. But I think we got, yeah, let's see. Fred Jacobs on 5'6" flat. When you get a girl alone, she can't tell how tall you are. They literally are terrible at spatial dimensions. Also being jacked up. Yeah, women can't tell a difference between like 5'9" and 6 feet sometimes, right? They can't tell the difference between 80K and 100K. They can't tell the difference between 6 inches and 8 inches. They just or 9 inches or 10 inches or whatever women are claiming that they see in men nowadays. Like, don't worry about that stuff, right? Um, let's see. Okay, we got a question from Pearl. Can a guy ever go from beta to alpha in a relationship? Yeah, Rolo talks about this. We can okay. So in life, right? Whenever I don't know if you guys have noticed, let's say you as a guy have a group of friends and they're all weed smokers and I don't know, they like to watch sports all the time and you know, they're not the most driven people. They're just bros, right? And then you start getting jacked and you go to school, you do all these things, right? What are usually guys like that say, right? Um, oh, you're doing why are you so jacked? This is not like you, bro. What are you doing? You're gonna quit weed, bro? I thought you were one of us. Like, what's wrong with you? You're not cool anymore. You're changed, bro. You will get the same reaction from a woman in your relationship, right? Which you see these posts, especially on Reddit, where a girl's complaining, "Oh, my man or my husband stumbled upon the red pill. Now he is emotionally abusive, and he doesn't do the things he used to do, and all blah blah." And what happens is that one of the first things the red pill teaches you is to stop taking yourself for granted. And a lot of guys start realizing, wait, I've been taken for granted my whole life, even in my relationship, right? So what he does is a lot of men are like, oh, okay, well, I still love my wife. Maybe if I acted more alpha in this relationship, maybe she would start respecting me more and stop taking me for granted, right? And here's the problem with that. Alpha, like, it could be different ways. Like, for some, it's like getting jacked, right? And we've heard stories of men getting more jacked and more sexually attractive. And then there are women fighting them to, don't go to the gym, or you're insecure, or accusing them of cheating because they go to the gym and there's women there, right? We've heard stories about that. That's just one side to the story. Um, and the guy will try to become, but here's the problem. That woman knows him well, right? And first off, she's gonna fight against every positive change he makes in his life, right? Besides maybe making more money or but anything that doesn't directly benefit her, she will start fighting against, right? She will say that, hey, he's jacked now, and he's emotionally abusive, which basically you're starting to become more assertive. You're starting to set more boundaries, right? What happens is women are very good at determining the congruency of a man, right? So it's really easy for women to tell if you're like the real deal or not. That's why they shit test you. That's why they kind of have their walls up when you approach them. It's because they're trying to see if you're the real deal, if you're full of shit, right? And within a relationship, it's game on hard mode, right? Because when you're single, you can walk away from any girl, if it's not working out, like, hey, this isn't working out. But when you're married, or in a relationship, you can't just walk out that easily. There's consequences for you, right? Um, in a marriage, you could ruin your life if you walk away, right? In a relationship, you probably have a lot of your life kind of like kind of wrapped around each other. All these tendrils of like, maybe you own a dog together, and maybe your stuff's at her place, or vice versa, or you know each other's parents, or your name's on the lease, or whatever. There's a lot of things that kind of tie you and tether you to this person. So you have a lot to lose, and she knows that, right? So she's going to start testing for congruency, and it's hard to convince a girl that you're going from an agreeable pushover to a guy that says no when she says, hey, did you do the dishes, right? So what ends up happening is women go complain to their girlfriends, right? And guys who just unplug, they don't become this like red pill masterpiece overnight. They're still what the hell can I how did I live like this where my girlfriend is mistreating me and think everything was okay and normal. I felt so depressed, but I didn't know why. And that's going to cause a lot of churn, right? So what happens is over time it's just usually they break up. Like most of the time they break up, right? And then the girl goes on Twitter, on Reddit, and starts saying, "Hey, he's emotionally abusive. The red pill sucks. I'm going to campaign against the red pill because they ruined my relationship. No, it ruined your longhouse. It ruined your plow horse of a husband, right? He figured out two things. Number one is that uh, how to take himself less for granted because you were, and number two that it is better to get a new girl than to try to save an old relationship that's failing, right? Because you can't. It's hard to convince a girl you're an alpha when you've been a beta your whole life. That's not something that comes overnight. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Absolutely not. So there's your answer, bro. Can a woman ever view him different if he becomes unplugged? Yes, it could be possible. Well, it depends on what you mean differently. Like I just explained, you could a lot of women see men that unplug as tyrants, as mean, as emotionally abusive, when basically they're just different. They're more assertive. They're more that they set more boundaries. They are um they take themselves for less for granted. They make themselves their own mental point of origin, right? And it becomes a clash of frame, right? Because he's been living in her frame her whole life, and he's trying to make his own frame, and it's tough, right? It's tough to tell a girl you're living with, hey, I'm not doing the dishes tonight. I worked extra late today. You can do them, right? It's tough to say, hey, you know, um, I'm going out with my friends tonight. I don't care. When it's tough to say these things when you live with someone that you've been used to like serving them and doing everything they said, right? So a lot of times it just ends in a breakup and it's difficult, right? But that's what the red pill's for. It isn't for you to um have a perfect happy ending, right? It's just to give you a positive sexual identity so you stop taking yourself for granted and other people stop taking you for granted, right? That's all you can do, right? But great question, thank you. um Anyways, going back to the topic. So yes, women marry upward. I'll read this part. This is a pedantic dismissal of phenomenon based on semantics. Yes, the original term was developed to describe women's tendency to marry upwardly into a higher socioeconomic strata by sociologists, but the term deserves a much broader definition in light of the biological and psychological realities we observe in women today. We could create some new term that would describe the phenomenon, but hypergamy would describe it in the abstract just as well. Critics resorting to this dismissal only seek to discredit the one proposing an idea based on terminology, right? And we say marrying upward, it's like, oh, I women only marry guys for their money, right? That's what we're saying. Like if some dorky guy came up to your wife and said, "Hey, I make twice of what Nuke makes," that she would be interested in him. Like, no, there are ways to circumvent hypergamy, right? Again, you don't have to make all the money in the world. You can make all the money in the world and be jacked. You can you can have a normal career and make normal people money and be jacked or be handsome or be really good in bed or just be funny and charming or um, having a look, right? Becoming the guy that she envisions as hot, right? There's so many ways, and that's what the problem with black pill doomers and people that understand hypergamy. It gets very emotional for them because to them it's like give up, right? Give up, because no matter what you do, a girl's always gonna find someone better and dump you, right? And that's really insecure for men. Like, listen, um, men are so scared of facing hypergamy. Men are so scared of letting women go or accepting that some women are just for them that they will ask women to get rid of their social media. They will ask women to not go to Miami. They will ask women not to do girls' nights out. They will ask women not to dress a certain way. Do you know why men do that? It's this they're confirming to the girl that they're the beta bucks, right? They're confirming that they're afraid that if a girl does something or if a girl goes on these trips, she's going to leave him for someone better or cheat on him or possibly have a baby by another guy, right? And the thing is, as a guy, you can't negotiate genuine desire. You guys know that, right? So, what are you doing negotiating a girl trying to tell her not to go out and get attention from men at a club? Why do you have to tell her that? Because you are the beta bucks, because you are the guy that she is not 100% sure about, right? She got with you as a means to an end, pragmatism, right? You're not the guy that she dreams about at night. You're not the guy that she texts when she's drunk. You know, you are the guy that simply is fulfilling the beta side of hypergamy. And that's what what people, the scientists, the tradcons, the purple pill people, any of those people, they all fight this because they cannot accept that, hey, you cannot negotiate genuine desire. You should not have to tell a woman to delete her racy pictures on Instagram. You should not have to convince a woman, hey, I'm getting a new job in a new city. Pack your things. You know, you should not have to tell a woman. You should not have to tell a woman anything that would um cause you to think that she's not 100% fully invested in you, and that is the freaking definition of genuine desire. A lot of people think, oh, it's when she likes doing things for you. Great. Guys in the chat, right? And excuse me, Pearl, if you're still in the chat for the crassness, but or any other ladies, right? Guys in the chat, have you ever been with a girl who just loves giving you a blowjob and she does not want to be in a relationship with you? She doesn't want to marry you. She doesn't want you around her friends. She just likes doing that kind of stuff to you, and she walks away. So she may even clean your kitchen. How many guys have experienced a girl like that? Is that genuine desire? No, she just thinks you're hot and wants to try out her skills on you. As a guy, you're like, oh, great, great, right? But as uh, it is not what genuine desire is, right? Genuine desire is, hey, um, I had a Miami trip before I met you with my girls in a couple months, but I canceled it. I think we should go do something instead. Me and you, right? Genuine desire. That's genuine desire. It's quietly showing the man you're with that there is no doubt in your mind that he is the one, and I will not risk anything to make you believe otherwise. Right? Her going on Twitter or on his social media saying, I love this man. Look how perfect he is. He bought me a house. And no, that's beta. That's beta bucks. She's showing off her beta bucks to the world. When a girl quietly erases all the booty photos on her Instagram, or even closes her Instagram, or just whatever, or closes her Twitter, or does anything like that, right? By her own volition, without being asked, without any expectation, just doing it, she is saying, I am completely off the market. There is no way men have access to me anymore because I don't want you to think that you are not the one for me. I'm 100% sure, and I want you to be 100% sure that I'm 100% sure about you. So that is what genuine desire is, and that is what alphas get out of women, right? The reason a lot of people try to discredit this kind of dynamic and the red pill as a whole is because blue pill works sometimes. Blue pill men get married. Blue pill men have children. Blue pill men live a full life, right? And a lot of guys see like, hey, but my parents are blue pill, or this couple didn't know anything about anything, and this couple is super egalitarian, they're partners, right? But the problem is that's a suboptimal way to live. Blue pill works sometimes. So a lot of people, hey, I'm gonna be blue pill because I get to have my fantasies about women and being loving me for me and all that stuff, and they're never gonna leave me as long as I'm a good man. And it's comfortable. It's a comfortable, safe way of thinking, right? But it's suboptimal, right? People think that once you accept this way of thinking of red pill, that you'll never be able to love a woman. The most amount of love letters I've gotten was when I was red pill. When being red pill, or sorry, having understood the red pill, I still got love letters from women. I still had relationships with women. I still flirt with women. I still, I still look at the day. Hey, maybe I'll be a dad one day. Who knows? Or maybe I'll never fall in love. I don't know. Either way, I'm not thinking about it now. It's not my problem right now. The future is not my problem. It's the now. So, at the end of the day, like, would you really um want to live a blue pill existence? And if you do, then that's the problem, because what you're saying is like, I prefer the lie. The lie is I get to believe the fantasies and the fairy tales that women like me for me, that they'll never leave me. And the thing is, that's a ticking time bomb, right? Because if the girl leaves you, you're done. You're destroyed. You're done for the next couple years, because you are so steeped in blue pill idealism that once that band-aid gets ripped away, you're going to be suffering for a long time, or you're going to get zeroed out essentially. So that's why we say, once you've read the red pill, there's no going back. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It is what it is. Deal with it. Welcome to reality. Welcome to 2024, like Fred Jacobs says. Welcome to reality. Get with the program. But anyway, let's see any other misconceptions about hypergamy. Let's see. Okay, here's another one that I'm tired of here, especially now with all these OF girls with Google, right? Um, Men are not hypergamous. They like to say we're hypergamous, but men were not hypergamous. Well, you could argue, well, women like hotter chicks. Women try to get the hottest chick that they think is in their league, right? Just like women do. Um, so what happens is women perceive or only acknowledge the top men, the men that they're sharing, right? So when they see this, they only see the women they're competing with, right? So let's say Nuke is on Are We Dating the Same Guy Dallas, right? And some girl asks, Hey, is this guy, I'm going on a date with this guy. Oh, and then a hotter girl posts, Yeah, I went on a date with him last week, he's an asshole. Or I dated him 3 months ago, he's a POS. Or I dated him 5 months ago, he's this, right? And they're all girls that are as hot as her or hotter. So she sees this and she's like, Oh shit, men like hot chicks because I can't compete against these women, right? And then she goes, watches a couple podcasts with OF thoughts or bimbos or whatever, and they're all like complaining about the same thing. She's like, "Oh, I guess it is true because some girl said it in a podcast." And then she herself believes that all men go for the hottest chicks, when in reality, on my end, I'm swiping on brown girls, I'm swiping on white girls, right? This is hypothetical, guys. This is hypothetical. I'm swiping on white girls. I'm swiping on girls that are 30. I'm swiping on girls that are 25, that are 20. Because as men, we're not hypergamous. We our mating strategy is um unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, meaning we take whatever we can get as long as it passes the boner test. Now, as life goes on, as you become more mature as a man, you have less patience and are smarter about what type of women to date. You no longer want to date women that suck, like have bad character traits, right? Like I go on a date with a girl and I see the way she expresses herself or treats the staff, or her hygiene, right? Or just she catfished me, she's overweight, whatever character flaw she has, I can be like, I don't need to have sex with you. I'm not here because I need to have sex. You were pretty. I saw something in you, but you have very bad character flaws. I respectfully end the day early. Have a nice day, and I move, right. But that comes with age and maturity as a man. Usually around early to mid 30s, you start kind of like having a lot more standards as a guy, which is good. It's a good thing to have standards as a guy, right? But in your 20s, it's whatever. You have slump busters. You sleep with fat chicks. You sleep with old milfs. You sleep with everything. But as you get older, you kind of have to have more. You tend to have more. You look for more character, like more character flaws. That's the big disqualifier of women, right? And that's normal because men, we kind of shift to wanting a family, um, thinking about the future. We have a little more to lose, because we're higher positions in company, less free time, more to worry about. So we don't want to bring in a crazy girl into a life to like disrupt their peace, right? But yeah, men are hypergamous, right? And I don't know who I was talking about with. Maybe it was Tori or someone, but we brought up like the porn stuff, like what men's porn preferences are, right? And you know, as a guy that used to look at this stuff, right? I don't care. I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed to say it, but as a guy who used to look at this stuff when I was younger, right? It wasn't that every time I went in to a an adult film site, I searched the same thing every day or every other day or whatever frequency I did it at, right? I always was like in the mood for things, right? Like today I want a MILF. I want to see a MILF. I want to see MILFs naked and having sex today. And then a week later, I'm like, okay, I want to see young petite girls, And then the next week would be like, I want to see curvy Latinas, It would just cycle it, and then we see the statistics, and like, oh, all men, like I think right now number one is MILFs, from when we had that talk, right? And it's just like, yeah, um, male, a lot of guys are into that fantasy, I guess. I don't know, but realize that it's parallel. Like we also like different things, right? Men, we just kind of like whatever's out there. We cast a wide net because if we don't do that, we don't get laid, right? We have to cast a wide net in terms of our preferences. Now, there's this magical thing that happens as a guy where whatever there is, we kind of turn our preferences to it. And you can see this going on in America right now. For example, America, huge obesity, huge obesity epidemic, right? Very few every day there's less and less chicks that are in shape, right? When I say in shape, I don't mean like thin, rail thin, or a muscle bound bodybuilder, right? I mean like clinically healthy, like if you could put on clothes, there's no spillage over, and like you may be 10 pounds overweight, or 10, you might have a little bit of like, a little bit of a, what do the Mexican girls call it, lonjas, um but nothing crazy, nothing that people will be like, hey, you're fat. But as you can see in popular media as to what is attractive, it's starting to look like more and more women who are overweight are starting to become the preference of men, right? So you'll see like, oh man, she got that yacht, or she's, she had a fat ass or whatever, blah blah. And it's just like, as a guy that goes to the gym and sees how well shapewear hides women's imperfections and fat and all that stuff, I see this and I'm like, hey, you guys know that she's wearing shapewear, or you guys know it's an angle, and you guys like, how many times you have to get catfish before you realize like that, like most women are not in shape, and it's, you know, so um men now are experiencing the fattest woman in the history of time, so their preferences become for women that are like clinically overweight or obese, and you can see it, you know, um, because man, we just kind of adapt to what there is. Meanwhile, women right now have had have more choice for men than they've ever had. Yet they won't settle down in their 20s, barely for anything, right? They are constantly doing things that will help them avoid commitment from a boring, loyal beta, and that is very obvious. Um, that is very obvious, and why are we denying this, right? Um, so those are differences between men and women. Rollo explains it ad nauseum. Everyone in the red pill explains it ad nauseum. I don't want to explain it ad nauseum. It's been done. We get it. Anyone that's going against this stuff is because they took the red pill personally, right? If a girl goes on a podcast says hypergamy doesn't exist, it's like, okay, well then let's you and me go on a date. No, I don't know you. Okay, well, let's go on a date and you'll find out. Oh, I don't want to. It's like, no, exactly. Because in your DMs, there's plenty of men that make more money than me and have other things, and you still won't commit to them, right? So, Yeah. I mean, Rolo goes on an essay to say other things like, "Hey, both men and women." Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. We just talked about that. Hypergamy is overemphasized in the manosphere. It is. Um, the problem now is that we have what's called open hypergamy, and that's the big problem, right? Every guy growing up, we kind of knew that you kind of had to be bigger, stronger, faster, more money in order to be praised, right? We play football as a kid or basketball. We play in recess, and whenever you hit a home run or something playing sports, everyone would clap and be like, "Wow, we praised men from since they were kids for doing good physical feats and impressive physical feats." So we always kind of knew, hey, you got to be better. You got to impress people. You got to perform, right? We always knew that. And then we got to high school and then we saw the teen movies and the coming of age movies, right? Where at the beginning of the movie, there's a jock and the jock has all the hot girls, right? But the hot or the dorky guy, the protagonist that starts out as it's like the zero to hero story. He likes the cheerleader, right? And then he realizes, oh, I gotta be, I'll never measure up to Chad Jock over there. And we as young men, we saw this, we're like, okay, well, I have to be popular, I have to have status. We always knew this. The problem is that at the ending of all these movies, it was always the dorky guy who somehow had some kind of environment where he had to prove himself. He proved himself, and that somehow beat the Chad Jock, and he got to go home with the girl, right? That's basically a lot of these coming of age movies, right? Teaching men that if they double down on their good qualities, that they'll get hot women, and therein lies the covert contract that's destroying. That's why the red pill exists. Basically, it's because we got lied to because of that, right? Um, but we always knew hypergamy. The problem is now is that it's open. It's in our face constantly everywhere we go. And how is that? Um, it used to be like if a girl did stuff behind a man's back, if a girl was a thought, if a girl was not so great, um, they would keep that shit secret. You would never find out. You'd marry a woman and you wouldn't know, you would die, knowing that she wasn't even that in love with you, right? There have been stories. You would marry a woman and she would never tell you her body count. Um, you would marry a woman and as soon as she got married, it would be like, she's like, shit, I'm married now. I gotta act like a wife, right? Problem now is that we have open hypergamy, right? And open hypergamy is tough, guys, even for me. Open hypergamy is women just making fun of you because you can't have sex with them, right? Now, should it all be taken seriously? We'll get into that. So, open hypergamy is basically women um constantly parading around their sexual strategy and the success of it in our face, right? There's extreme cases, right? There's cases where women go on podcasts and say things like, "I cheated on my boyfriend with another guy," blah blah, like just and then laughing about it, right? To the horror of men who just so happen to stumble upon that. And then we have other extremes, like basically women being interviewed on the street, and you ask them, the guy asks them, "How much money does he need to have in order to marry you or for the ring?" And she's like, $30,000. And I'm like, you don't even know what $30,000 looks like, nor, um, you know, like a ring that expensive. Like, wouldn't you rather use it for a vacation or for a down payment on a house? Like, it's insane, right? Um, and what happens is, uh, men see this, they get mad, and then they click, and they click, and they click, and they super chat, and they click, and they super chat, and Google, and then Twitter, and YouTube, and wherever sees this and is just like, man, these guys are making money, making us advertising money. They're clicking, so let's boost this in the algorithm, or let's let these guys talk about women because we're making a lot of money off this, right? and then they click, and then they click, and then it makes money, and then the women realize like, oh, if I go on these shows or if I do this thing, I get attention on me. And then we end up with a girl that's like a 4 out of 10, barely attractive, going on a podcast and saying she has sex with 5 dudes a day, which is literally impossible. They can barely plan a coffee date. Imagine 5 dudes a day, right? Now, that's open hypergamy. It's like, haha, my sexual strategy is winning. You suck. I'm gonna have my cake and eat it too. Now, is a revenge fantasy good and healthy? No. Will most women stick the landing? Maybe. I don't know. Not my problem. I gotta focus on myself, right? But I will say that open hypergamy is not easy for, especially for a guy that's just unplugged. Oh, we got a 199 super chat from Matthew, sir. You get one of these. Thank you. Oh, where did I put it?
Thank you so much, best friend.
Matthew W with the 199 super chat says, super chat starter, good value here, guys. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, so what happens is now the podcasters are incentivized to make their shows freak shows and to invite some of the most messed up people with the most messed up lives on their show. All right, I know because I was on one of these shows and I had girls next to me get kicked off. And I can tell you that, guys, like open hypergamy stuff, like be easy on yourself. It's tough to have women just brag about your worst nightmares as a man, whether it be the kid is not yours, whether it be a man's fluids in your woman's vagina and you don't even know. There was that famous interview, which turned out to be fake as well, right? There's women that are absolutely unattractive, both physically and just their personality, and they're bragging about getting with top tier men, right? Which to you is like, what the hell, Women have it on easy. They can be completely shitty human beings and look ugly, but still get with these men, right? And I'm here to tell you, like, open hypergamy stuff, it's not easy. I personally try to back away from that stuff and not take it too personally, right? As a guy with experience, first off, it's not going to affect you as much because as you go on with life, you realize like women don't know how much money is. Like you tell women, hey, how much does an engineer earn? And they don't know. An average guy can tell you how much an engineer earns. Hey, how much does a pilot earn? They can give you a ballpark. Hey, show me 6 feet. A guy would be like, write this, and it'll be right, almost right on the money. Ask a girl, hey, what's 6 feet? Like this. Ask a girl to parallel park. One wheel's on the curve, the other wheel's a foot away from the curve, right? So you already know, if you have experience, that when it comes to numbers and dimensions, women don't know, right? Women don't know. So don't sweat that part too much. Now, when it comes to actions, like I think who said it? Open hypergamy, like Godspeed said, open hypergamy just means we get to know the game better, right? Understand that this is the time in history where you're going to learn the most about women's unflattered truths about women. Women are telling you the worst parts of themselves, right? They're constantly telling you the worst parts of themselves. And it's easy. It's becoming really easy to get women to open up about the crazy or bad things they did, right? Not always, but as long as you run game and you don't shame them sexually, you kind of like let them know, like, hey, I'm not here to shame you sexually. You can say whatever you want. I don't care, right? Like I said, her body count, her sexual indiscretions are her problem. She has to deal with those consequences, not me. So what happens is that now you get a free course in how bad women can get, right? And vetting women becomes much easier. There's less women that are good, but vetting them becomes easier because it's so much easier to be like, hey, you're terrible. I'm not getting with you. However, we can have sex, but you're a terrible person. You're horrible, right? And one of the biggest things that like blew, like not epiphanies, but like things that I had in my mind is just like a lot of guys they all say that we hate women, or they all say that we hate love or something like that. But I can tell you guys right now, and I'm sure you guys feel this too. We just hate bad people. That's it. Bad people are bad people. Like in your daily life, if a woman opens a door for you, you're going to say thank you, right? Great. In your daily life, if a woman does you a favor at work, you're gonna be like, thank you. Oh, she's very nice, right? Like we're totally, we just want women to be good people. Now, can we achieve it? No. I can't change human beings, but at the end of the day, I personally, I just when I deal with women, the number one thing that I look for now that I'm, that is a guy with abundance that doesn't isn't like starving for women, right? Is she a good person? Literally, is she a good person? How does she treat her mom? How does she treat her dad? You know, how does she treat her family members, her employers, her coworkers, the service staff at this restaurant that we're at, or this bar that we're at. Those are the things. Like I said before, as you grow older as a man, you start looking for these things more because you don't have time. Like sex is good, right? But if unless I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to I'm going to sleep with this girl. I don't care about her. If I'm on a date and I'm like, oh, this girl I might see her for more than just sex. Let me see and you start asking questions and you figure out this girl is a horrible person, right? Just on the first date, right? Like I said, the quietest sound ever recorded, and women can't hear it, is men putting them in the fuck zone. No one can hear that. It is the quietest sound. They will never detect it. It's a man putting a girl into the fuck zone. And what's happening is now that we have this the Overton window shifting, girls are feeling more comfortable than ever telling us how shitty they are. So, guys, let them tell you how shitty they are. Look at their behaviors, right? Um, and that is why, guys, too, I say the relationship is her problem, right? Because women have all the power before the relationship, right? They have unlimited options, or at least that's what they look like, or that's what it looks like in their DMs and all that, in their personal life, because of social media. Um, they can leave whenever they want, um, and they move on faster. And also, women have the power to cheat on you almost instantly. So why would I really, against those odds, why would I work hard for a relationship? Just, yeah, you prove to me that you want to be here because you have all the incentive to leave, right? Sorry. So the relationship is her problem. Her body count, her problem. All those problems have nothing to do with me. I'm living my life. If she wants to be in my life, she's on my program. And remember, guys, there are no good women. There are no bad women. There are no this woman or that woman. There's only two types of women in your life. There's women that are on your program and women that are not. See how easy that is? You know how much weight and stress that'll lift off your shoulders? You don't have to hold women accountable. You don't have to parade, bad examples of women in your whole life, right? You just have to look, hey, do you want to go on a date with me? No? Okay. Oh, cool. You're not on my program. Hey, we've been hooking up for 3 weeks, and now you asking me to be my boyfriend? Um, are you on my program? Okay, you are on my program. You are literally, you like me for me, you're genuine burning desire, you're on my program. All right, let's go to the second level. Patrice O'Neill talked about this as it being the levels of his dojo, where a girl would slowly fight her way up to the top. Right. But I just say, hey, she's either on your program or not. There's no good women or bad women, right? There is no, oh, she's religious, she's a good woman. You don't freaking know that. She could be the biggest slut at the church or the biggest slut in Christianity. You have no idea. So why are you already making excuses for her? Is it because you have this fantasy where because a woman is religious, it absolves you um of the work you have to do to make sure that this girl is not going to ruin your life because of her promiscuity? No, you simply say, hey, I don't care if you're the daughter of Mother Teresa. You either on my program or you're not, and you have to prove to me you're not a slut. That doesn't mean write an essay for me. That doesn't mean beg me. It means I'm going to watch your behavior. I'm not stupid. I'm going to watch your behavior and be like, hey, you don't drink a lot of alcohol. Women that are promiscuous usually drink a lot of alcohol. Okay. Okay. I see. There's something there. Hey, you don't dress a certain way. I didn't need you to dress a certain way, but you don't dress a certain way. Okay. Hey, after we hooked up the first time, you were texting me the whole day and the next day. You're getting attached. Hoes usually don't get attached after the first night, or second night, or third night. You're just a dig appointment. Okay, and then slowly but surely, she starts working her way up to being your girl, and that was the program, guys. The program was, hey, there is a trial period. In that trial period, you have to prove to me that you're not a hoe and that you're my girlfriend material, not the other way around. I already proved myself boyfriend material. Look at my lifestyle. I already proved myself. Now it's your turn, right? I think Myron says that all the time too, and all that. But yeah. So yeah, hypergamy has a lot of misconceptions. You know, I already talked about beta bucks and how guys think it's only beta bucks. Like, hey, but what about Justin Waller or any other rich guy? I'm like, yeah, but they also have other things that make them alpha, right? It's not only the money, right? Give that money to a dorky guy, and he'll still get his life destroyed by a woman and get no women, right? Give that money to a charming man who's intelligent, right, and has game, and he's gonna do just fine with women. He's gonna have multiple women, right, and they're all gonna love him and share him, right? It's all. And guys, just stop with this beta. I just don't get it. Like, hey, I worked all my life and I make good money as an engineer, doctor, lawyer, whatever. I deserve women now. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't deserve shit. You don't deserve shit. That entitlement shit has got to go away. Stop with the entitlement. But we got a $5 super chat here by Fred. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, best friend.
What do you think happens in the post open hypergamy world? What do you think? Like this year or like I don't know. But my prediction was on Rule 0 was that the number one trend I'm seeing from in the dating market and just looking for men and women solving the reproductive problem is essentially the distance between alpha fucks and beta bucks is just going to continue to widen, right? How's that going to be manifested? You're going to go on dates with girls that are going to be completely wholesome, and they're going to have sugar daddies every day, more and more. The men that can't get women, who can only get women by being betas, like money, comfort, relationship, commitment, those men are going to be so far removed from the alphas, the guys that are exciting, that are fun, that are good at sex, that have multiple women. Those two men are going to be so far apart from each other, right? Because we're already seeing it. Very few men are both, right? Like I said, women, ideal man is alpha with the side of beta, right? So what happens is that's going to happen in a open hypergamy world, is that women are going to have men that are absolute betas as like their cash cows or their ATM, and maybe they hold them there for for marriage, right? And they're going to have alphas, and that distance between those two men in terms of personality, in terms of um multiple things, is going to be so wide, right? It's going to be so easy to tell from a guy that's alpha and beta, right? It's just going to be, it's just something that I've seen. It's the trend, right? So, guys, if there's anything, double down on your alpha characteristics and on your quest to become a more attractive man. That means get in the gym. That means learn charm and game, be exciting, have a look, live an exciting life, right? Because it's going to be either or. Like the in between, the corner of like alpha with a little bit of beta is going to go away. Like as soon as a woman detects any level of beta within you, she's going to wreck you. She's going to want you to be the beta provider instantly, and just the sex is going to go away, right? I think there was a millionaire, a crypto millionaire. I think his name is Robert Richard Hart, the guy who invented Hex or something. He says that once women find out about all his supercars and his mansion, that they start holding out on sex with him, right? Because they put him in the blue pill provider box, even though he's not blue pill, but they saw all the stuff. They're like, no, because if I have sex with this guy, he's going to discard me. But if I hang around and make him wait, I could probably get a piece of this, right? It's just the way it is, right? Yeah, so that's my prediction. But anyway, give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
見せて俺たちを安心させてくれんかい。
Hey, all right. So basically, what happens is that's what I see the future. Anyway, moving on. Other misconception of hypergamy. Oh, it's men's fault that women are hypergamous. Like, yeah, no, that's women's innate mating strategy. Hypergamy means that only 20% of men will ever get laid. False. That's false. Hypergamy. And then men shouldn't learn about hypergamy because it's toxic. No, you guys should be fully aware of what hypergamy means and all that stuff, right? And let me see. Anything else? But anyway, I think I've covered all the misconceptions of hypergamy and what hypergamy is and all that stuff, right? And understand that why it hurts people and why people, especially people with big egos, right? Because people that can't accept these things, right? It all comes down to their ego, right? For women, it's just like they took it personally. They don't like the language we use. They don't want anything that makes them look bad. So they attack it and they call us insecure because that's all they have. Once you can't shame a man that can't be shamed, right? That doesn't feel shame, right? For men, it's the ego. I'm the best man she's ever had, and there's no way she's gonna leave. And understand too, like, first off, marriage isn't a goal for a man. It's an eventuality. It's something that is just another part of our life. We don't live and strive and achieve just for marriage. We do it just for the sake of it. So at the end of that, women are a lagging factor of success, meaning that you don't improve and do things for women. You improve and become a better man, and then the women come with that, right? And it may be manifested in like marriage, it may be manifested in spinning plates, it may be manifested in whatever way, right? But simply, hypergamy helps you guys. Hypergamy is on your side. Like I mentioned in the other show, for you guys that are grinding, that are becoming best version of yourselves, do you want men that are complete losers to get rewarded for that? I don't. I want dudes that are complete losers to not get what they deserve, right? Meaning, if I work hard for stuff, then I want to be rewarded. That doesn't mean like I'm entitled, right? But at the same time, you know, it's hard for me as a guy to see a guy that's fat, a loser, doesn't get, just a POS in life in general, and have a hot girlfriend, right? That must mean that messes with guys, right? And that's why I love hypergamy so much, right? Because hypergamy is ripping those girls from them into my arms because I'm doing in the work, right? So is open hypergamy bad? Yeah, because it's just women being stupid on the internet, right? Just being dumb. But normal hypergamy, which has always existed since the beginning of humans, um, I appreciate it because it's first off, it's the reason we're here. It's the reason all of us are here. It's the reason life is so comfortable and nice. It's the reason there's a beautiful girl texting me right now, right? Um, it's just it is what it is. And you have to accept it. It's reality, right? And as you get better and the women start coming as a result, as a lagging factor of success in your life, you're gonna start really appreciating that, hey, that women have high standards because you become that high standard, right? The internet may say, hey, if you're not a millionaire, you won't get women, or if you're not 6'3", you won't get women. Bullshit. You know, if you're simply better than average, you'll do fine. Now, if you want better than average woman, then you have to keep ascending and keep doing better, right? But if just being better than average, you're already miles ahead, right? The bar is low, right? You know how many men can bench 225 in the United States? I think 0.4%. Go to the gym. If you can bench 225, you're already top strength in America, right? How many, the average salary for a man is 40K, right? So if you earn six figures, you're already in the top 10% of men, right? If Now, okay, you may argue like, hey, women don't know these things about you, right? But here's the thing. Um, those things are for you, and you should enjoy those accolades and those lifestyle choices that you made to make your life better, right? But because you're able to make all this, um, because you're able to make all this stuff happen for yourself, right? There's got to be some level of confidence, some level of security in your life where you're now able to go out and date women, right? If you're making six figures, you can live in a nice area in the city, right? Meaning that not only can you have a nice place, so you can have friends and family over to visit you and live comfortably, you can now use that apartment as your little, player bachelor pad, right? And now that you can bring women straight from the bar to your place, and your bar is like two blocks down. You know, you didn't grind hard specifically for women, right? But you made a better life for yourself. And now that you made a better life for yourself, why not reward yourself by just doing simply a little bit more effort of learning about women and um, logistics and all the things that make women easier and more fun, and enjoy it, right? You get one life. You only get one life. Hypergamy is always going to be on your side of the man that self improves and does better. Now, are there lots of examples of women that are delusional? Yes, delusion is a part of the thing, right? There are ways around delusion, right? First off, avoid delusional women, right? There are women that are delusional. I date them all the time, and they're not delusional in the sense that they think they deserve NFL players. That's childish delusion. That's like very few women are like that. The delusion you'll see is that their choices don't affect them long term, right? It's sad. I get This is the part of women that, not that it affects me, but it's just, this is the part that makes me not want revenge fantasies, right? Because there are women that I've dated in my life who were smart, funny, cute, sexy. I like them, right? The relationship is her problem. I can't beg her to be her boyfriend. That's her thing, right? So I let time pass. She doesn't want anything serious. And I'm like, okay, you're 25 and I'm 33 at the time, 34, 33. Um, we have fun together. Sex is really good. You're very good in bed. Um, you're very pretty. We share a lot of things in common. You always dress nice for me when we go out. You put in effort. Um, you're very open with your life problems, right? We almost have a relationship. But the fact is that some women are so delusional, right? That they will do all these things with a guy and not be like, hey, maybe I should settle with this guy. Not settle for him, settle with him. Because literally, he checks every single box. I keep coming back to him and he treats me well, right? And I'm sexually attracted to him because every time we see each other, it's like, like gotta readjust the bed because right, not to brag, but like we had a lot of chemistry in that area. Um, but then you don't settle, and that's because that delusion is that hey, there's something better might come. I'm not saying I'm anything special, right? But I'm not saying I'm not special. And this is the type of delusion that you're going to be dealing with, right? You're going to, on paper, be perfect for these women, right? But the only side of you they ever want is the alpha side because they wouldn't be caught dead in a relationship with you, right? Because what if there's something better? And that's a delusion you're going to be truly dealing with. And it's sad because along the way, you're going to meet women that you really like. You're going to meet women that are great. You're going to meet women that um, you're just like, man, she really only does like me for sex, but that's fine. But like, she's cleaning my kitchen. She's doing my laundry. She's crying in my arms when she has family problems. She takes care of my dog. You know, she invites me over to cook for me. You know, she asks me for things like, hey, can you mount my TV? Right? She's willing to wear lingerie for you. Um, she asks you for help in her car. Um, Basically, you're like almost in a relationship, right? She remembers your problems sometimes. She sends you memes and TikToks of like your inside jokes, but she will not want to be with you whatsoever. It disgusts her the fact of selling with you, right? That's hypergamy, guys, at work. And that's the sad side of hypergamy. It's not these hoes on TV or on YouTube saying, I deserve 90K, right? Whatever, 90K wedding ring, or I want a car, or I get spoiled. Like those are freak shows. They are invited on shows because they generate clicks, right? Those are freak shows. What I'm talking about, right, is um is the reality, the boots on the ground perspective of what the open hypergamy is, right? It may serve you. You may be the guy like me that's just like, hey, I'm just spinning plates, I'm just having fun, right? But if you're a guy that once in a while you meet a good girl, I'm telling you, the worst part of hypergamy is meeting a woman who checks all your boxes and you check all of hers. At least that's what she's trying to show you, right? I'm talking about sex on the first date. I'm talking about um constant texting every day, and she wouldn't be caught dead in a relationship with you. Stuff like that, right? Like signs of genuine desire, but none of the actual genuine desire, um, and all that. And I know several women. I've dated several women like that, right? Um, that's the worst part of open hypergamy. As a guy, you'll enjoy it, but then on a long enough timeline, right? You'll start seeing this, and you're just like, hey, she's not yours. It's just your turn. What do you think? Why you use that phrase? Because we like to talk to ourselves and be mean and say and be black pill? No, it's because as you go through your journey, you're going to start thinking that hey, I am good enough to quell or to solve this woman's hypergamous doubt. Meaning, I am the six-figure guy. I do dress well. I am the race she wanted. I am the age she wanted. I'm all these things. I even got the shiboying length she wants, right? Why the hell does she not want to settle for me? Right? And then boom, red pill comes in and like, hey buddy, first of all, you're entitled. You don't get women just because you're a certain way or a certain all these things. Right? It just increases the chance of you getting women in your life. Right? Women paying attention to you. Number two, she's not yours, it's just your turn. Meaning the relationship is her problem. She wants to stay. She has to be willing to stay. Um, And ultimately, the most powerful of all the phrases, hypergamy doesn't care, right? Hypergamy doesn't care. Let it burn. It hurts. Hypergamy doesn't care that who you're voting for this year. Hypergamy doesn't care about your morals as a man. Hypergamy doesn't care if you go shopping with her. Hypergamy doesn't care that you guys spent a very nice time over Christmas. Hypergamy doesn't care if you're Christian or Muslim or a Jew. Hypergamy doesn't care that you've worked really hard this year in order to provide for your children. Hypergamy doesn't care that the children are even yours, right? Hypergamy doesn't care about all the things you bought her. Hypergamy doesn't care about all the times you fixed her car in order for her to get to work on time, or hypergamy doesn't care that you took the time to ask her about what her favorite sex positions were and did the extra work in order to make sure she was pleasured in bed. Hypergamy doesn't care that you met her parents and her parents liked you, right? Hypergamy doesn't care that you paid off her debt. Hypergamy doesn't care that you were married for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. Hypergamy doesn't care. Hypergamy doesn't care if you are a good man. Hypergamy doesn't care if you're a law-abiding citizen. Hypergamy doesn't care about your IQ level. Hypergamy doesn't care about how much you support women and women's rights. Hypergamy doesn't care about how much you support anything she believes in, anything from climate change to save the whales to liberalism. Hypergamy doesn't care if you try to defend her on the street from a guy trying to kill her. Hypergamy doesn't care if hypergamy doesn't care if you miss her and you want her to come back into your life, even though she's done with you. Hypergamy doesn't care. Right? I can keep going, guys. I can keep going. Hypergamy doesn't care that he was your friend. Hypergamy doesn't care that her time's running out and she just should settle for a nice guy like you. Hypergamy doesn't care that you're a good father. Hypergamy doesn't care that you're a good a good son. Hypergamy doesn't care that you're a hardworking employee. Hypergamy doesn't care if you think you're going to heaven. Hypergamy doesn't care if you are the same race as her, with the same cultural background. Hypergamy doesn't care if you're on a journey of self-improvement and you're not quite the man you should be yet. Hypergamy doesn't care. Hypergamy doesn't care that you moved to her city and followed her to her job in order to support her more. Hypergamy doesn't care. Hypergamy doesn't care how many books you read or how smart you sound. Hypergamy doesn't care how many times you've called her mother to check up on her. Hypergamy doesn't care. Use this to your advantage. If it hurts, if it burns, you still have work to do. Realize that once you accept these things that are hard to accept, you'll do much better. With women, with life, you'll be at peace, right? You will reach the famed Valhalla of inner peace as a man with the opposite gender. And just know that there is no way you can unsee these things that are going on in front of you. Once you accept them, you accept them. That's it. So that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you on Rule 0, I guess. Yeah. Rule 0 and then the Dragons on Saturday. So goodbye, guys. Thank you.
Flying it all alone, thinking that I'm with you, thinking I would too, but you're gone.